You are listening to the Ready PDM Network.
Today's episode was brought to you by Eigenworks. Most companies don't know why they lose deals, and few know why they win. Eigenworks can tell you why. With the buyer as hero approach, Eigenworks gets deep insight into the reasons organizations make buying decisions. The product, promotion, and sales insights provide Eigenworks clients with a significant competitive position in their marketplaces. Hello, Ready Product Radio heads, and welcome to another exciting episode of Ready Product Radio. This week, we speak with Ravi Kumar, a product owner at Autodesk and creator and host of the wonderful Yours Productly podcast at www.yoursproductly.com. Ravi and I talk about the growing Singapore product management community, the lessons Ravi has learned so far in his product career, and finally about his passion project, the Yours Productly podcast. Ready Product Principle number 18 is borrowed from Jiro Ono. Once you decide on your occupation, you must immerse yourself in your work. You have to fall in love with your work. You must dedicate your life to mastering your skill. That's the secret of success. Enjoy the show.
Are you ready?
It has been a great learning experience, and I would encourage, the movement of product camps, it need not be product camp by itself. The branding could be anything, but I would encourage people to go and spread the movement and learn and develop communities in your neighborhood if it's not present.
Companies are looking for better ways to make great products, and customers are expecting them. Welcome to Simulation-Driven Design. Autodesk simulation software provides a comprehensive set of solutions to help you gain a competitive advantage in solving your most challenging design problems. Autodesk Simulation helps you predict how your products will perform, optimize designs to bring cost-effective, innovative products to market faster, validate designs to ensure your products meet quality and safety requirements, all before manufacturing begins.
So I pivoted, I strategized. I said, I might not add value to the community through my blogs, but at least I can get experts to come to my podcast. So I started thinking about podcasts. I say, let me get experts on my podcast. At least they will generate value.
Product owner is the owner of the overall vision, the product. The product owner represents the business. The product owner is the single voice of the business. Now, let's explain what I mean by single voice. Does this mean that the product owner has to be the only person who speaks for the business? No. The product owner may well have many subject matter experts who assist.
I became very flexible. So even when we used to have customer calls at night 2 a.m., that was in the US, and for me in the mornings 2 a.m., I used to take calls at all ungodly hours. I never said no to anything.
Singapore is in Southeast Asia, just off the south coast of Malaysia, and at the heart of the fastest developing continent in the world.
And I also founded Product Camp Singapore, a community, a thriving community of more than 300 product enthusiasts.
Hello and welcome to Yours Productly, a podcast series on product management and marketing topics. I am Ravi Kumar, your host for the podcast. You can find us on www.yoursproductly.com. So I'm passionate about product management, and through this podcast, I speak to experts and product leaders and learn from them about what it takes to build excellent products, the processes, the methodologies, and what all goes into building world-class products.
So he goes into his restaurant every single day, and it's not just because he has to, but because his work defines his life. Okay, so he walks to his restaurant with a deliberate resolve to work harder and do better than the previous day.
Ravi Kumar, welcome to Ready Product Radio. I've been listening to your excellent podcast, Yours Productly, for some time now, but it's great to finally speak with you, and thanks for taking the time to be on the show. Maybe we can start with you giving an introduction of yourself, Ravi.
Thanks for having me, Alan. Yes, this is the first time for me, so I am having jitters and little butterflies. But then, having known you for some time, I know you come across as a gentleman, and we have been connected on LinkedIn and have been exchanging messages. So it feels like I know you forever.
Good.
So yes, I am a product owner at Autodesk in Singapore. For those of you who do not know, Autodesk it's a world leader in making CAD products, and AutoCAD is the flagship product here. Which generates around $500 million of revenue. It's the flagship product, and I'm part of one team within AutoCAD. And my team is spread across 3 geographical locations, USA, San Francisco. I am here in Singapore, and most of my development staff is in Shanghai. So so lots of communications happen across different time zones. Apart from my day job, since I'm passionate about product management, I do a few gigs post work. And I, as you mentioned, I run a podcast. It's been active since a year and a half. I have spoken to more than 40 guests, interviewed more than 40 product leaders all over the world. Nice. Fascinating journey it has been till now. Lots of learning, and I'll share about it during the course of this interview. And I also founded Product Camp Singapore, a community, a thriving community of more than 300 product enthusiasts within Singapore. We did that 2 years ago, and today it has grown into a very engaging community and lending a lot of value to the product people here. So,
that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Good stuff. Thanks, Ravi. So our show, Ready Product Radio, is all about helping product people of all disciplines be ready for the many different challenges that face them on their product journey. So definitely your perspective is going to be good here in terms of your product owner roles and definitely some of your other experience. So what I usually do on my podcast, Ravi, is I usually pick 3 questions or topics to focus on. I find that seems to be about the right length. For us, we were going back and forth, and we landed on the following 3 topics. Let's talk about Singapore Product Camp and the product community in Singapore. I think that'd be of great interest. And then secondly, let's talk about what you've learned so far about product in your roles to date, your current product owner role, for example, pick up on some of the lessons that you've learned. And then thirdly, let's finish up talking about the Yours Productly podcast. I've noticed that we tend to be more cooperative as product management podcasters than competitive. So third, let's talk about how that's going and how you started it and maybe some of the highlights of that experience. Do those 3 topics sound good?
Excellent. Let's begin.
Okay, good. So Ravi, let's start with Singapore Product Camp. I understand that you just had one.
Yes.
And I understand you're based in Singapore. So maybe talk about what some of the highlights of the camp were. What were some of the more popular topics? And then after talking about Singapore Product Camp, maybe you can let us know if there's any other product meetup groups or any other associations in the Singapore area.
Sure. Let me begin from the very outset on how Product Camp Singapore was formed, and I'll add details to that. Excellent. So the thing is, as I mentioned to you, I'm still 2 years into product management, and 3 years ago was when I decided that I want to move to product management. And after doing all my research, one of the advice that I found online and other senior product folks tell me that one should attend product camps to learn and grow in product management. And that's when I tried to Google about product camp in Singapore. Mm-hmm. And to my dismay, I found there was no, in spite of product camps being popular in more than 100 cities worldwide, there was no product camp in Singapore. And I said, all right, so let's do the next best thing and to set up a product camp here. But you must know that I wasn't a product manager then. So when I started approaching people, so I looked for product managers on LinkedIn to connect to people in the community. And brought the topic to them. But initially there was a lot of hesitation because nobody would consider me seriously because I was not a product manager myself. So what business did I have to begin product camp? But then I persisted and I started meeting more and more people. We formed a core group, and that was when we formed a core group. So, and then we said, all right, and then we decided, let's have some help. So we started getting help from people who were already running product camps all over the world. And then we got a lot of help from Brainmates. Brainmates was already running product camps in Australia. Nice. So Brainmates came to our rescue. They helped us conceptualize and began it. And today we ran the 5th volume. So we have come a long way. And so the way we run product camps is we usually get 2 keynote speakers, and one keynote we always have got from the US. Since we do not have the budget to fly them down here, we get them on Skype. Okay. Yeah, and they do a live keynote, and and we have had great people joining us as keynotes. We have had Michael Eckhart from the Kazam Institute. He was the first one to begin. We have had Rich Mironov. He's the founder of Product Camp. So we have had him. Greg Gerasi helped us in the 3rd Product Camp. And the last one, the one which we finished 2 weeks ago, was done by Steve Johnson. So, nice. So we the thing is, whenever we have approached people, they all have been kind, and nobody has till now turned down our request. And it has been valuable. And after that, we also try to get a local speaker as a keynote. So we identify who has done some good work on the product side of things, and we have got amazing speakers like that. And post these 2, we then call out names on whoever wants to volunteer to take up a topic. And usually we have a mix of prepared speakers, and then we ask the people to dot vote. So we ask them to come and introduce your topics to the audience, so that the audience makes an informed choice. These are parallel sessions, right? So these are parallel tracks going on. So for them to be able to make up their mind on which talks they would like to attend, they need an introduction. So once
that's a good idea.
Yeah, so the speakers, they give their introduction within 30 seconds, and then we start dot voting. And once it's dot voted, we assign the rooms to respective speakers, and it goes on till most part of the day. You asked about what happened in the last product camp. So we had Steve Johnson. Steve is again a serious practitioner. I mean, we call him the godfather of product management, and the topic that he has been talking a lot in the last couple of years has been agile product management. And so he delivered a fantastic talk on that.
Let me cut you off there just quickly and let you know that Steve Johnson is one of my sponsors, so definitely don't say anything bad about him, okay?
No, of course not. Of course not. He's quite popular here as well. It's not like people here heard him for the first time. Ever since, at least in my organization and many organizations, most of the product managers, they all have some point of time been trained by pragmatic marketing, and pragmatic marketing wields that influence. And Steve Jobs has been one of the early trainers through pragmatic marketing. So, I mean, everybody knows him. So it's not like he was new here.
Yeah.
So I think his session was quite engrossing, and there were lots of questions that were thrown to him later after he finished his talk. So after the second speaker was Dr. Li Ning. She leads the Innovation Management Office at Lumen Labs. She also comes up with more than 20 years of Silicon Valley experience. She has been a veteran there. So she shared some key insights into building products from her vast experience. So this time we were lucky that we got a great quality of speakers. And then when we broke down the day for all the volunteer speakers, we had topics ranging from topics like how to break into product management. We had a participation from TradeGecko, and then we had people like talking about how mobile first strategy should be conceptualized, since mobile is the key thing. There are not many product managers who have vast experience with mobile. Mobile by itself is a new platform. So how do you win your mobile strategy? How do you apply mobile strategy? And then we had people talking about the economy of APIs, on how the strategy on APIs is crucial for the success of a product. We also had someone from Progresso who are the official training partners for AI PMM. So they delivered a talk on AI PMM product management framework. So that was also useful because Singapore still, in terms of training, it is still nascent. AI PMM is the first framework that has arrived in Singapore. So there was a lot of interest there. We had topics from on design innovation too. So we had somebody from Deloitte who had come, and he delivered a fantastic talk on how design thinking and design innovation can be imbibed by product managers to become better thinkers. What else? Yeah, one of the important ones were the product market fit and software as a service in how to achieve your product market fit. So as you can see, it was a healthy mixed bag of topics, and lots to take away from there.
Good stuff. So a couple follow-up questions, Ravi. So you said you had about 300 people, or how many people showed up?
No, the community is 300. So usually, Singapore is still not. We are far behind where Silicon Valley is. It's the product management as a fraternity, as a function here, is still in its nascent stage. So usually we get around 100 to 150 people in our camps.
That's good.
So
yeah. That's a healthy number. And do you guys have a website where you post some of your materials and things like that?
Yes. So we from taking permissions from our speakers, we publish all of them on SlideShare. And SlideShare should be on the homepage of our website, productcampsg.com. If not, I will put them. But if you go to SlideShare and search for Product Camp Singapore, you will get all the past presentations up.
That's great. And you said that this was your fifth one.
This was our fifth one, yes.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, because I've been to a number. Do you guys do them annually, or do you try to do 2 per year? How often do you do them?
So we have done a bad job in maintaining a cadence. Okay, we have there were times when we have done. After 3 to 4 months, there have been times where we did not do one, even after 8 months gap. So, but we have now pulled up our socks, looking at the interest that has generated, that we have built. The core team has grown. We have got more help now from the community. So we are looking to maintain that 3 to 4 months cadence to do.
Yeah, it's hard. I know here in Toronto, where I'm based, we try to do one at least every year, and there's enough demand that we could be successful with 2. But as you know, it's a lot of work, right?
Yes.
You can't be too hard on yourself. It's volunteer, and it's a lot of work. So that's interesting. So hopefully people can go and check that out. So do you have any thoughts in terms of when the next one's going to be, or?
So I was speaking to Christina Wodke this morning. I mean, I had her on my podcast, and she's quite popular in Silicon Valley, as you know. She's an OKR expert. Marty Kagan talks a lot about Christina's work. So I've been following her work too. So she was telling that she would be in this part of the world in around June. And I thought, why not use that opportunity to schedule the next product camp when she's around, so that we can, this time we might not need somebody on Skype, but have her live. So we will look to have it in June this year.
Nice, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that's Product Camp, and that's great that you got that started, Ravi. So what else is Is there anything else going on? Like, are there any other meetup groups or associations or?
Yes. So we have I mean, as I said, the community is small. So we also have these. So meeting only once in 4 months or 5 months or 6 months is good, but then to engage or keep the information flowing and knowledge sharing, we thought we should also do monthly meetups. And we have somebody called Michael Ong here who drives the monthly meetups here, and we are all. I mean, everybody is part of the same community, but he takes charge of the monthly meetups and he drives it through. It's a more casual affair where we get beers flowing and talking, and so that is. It generates, again, it's a close knit. We get a few people who are interested in a topic, and we thrash. It's just one topic, and there is a lot of brainstorming, and we go back with lots of learning. So yeah, that happens monthly.
Yeah, sounds similar. We have a meetup group here in Toronto called Product TO, and it's very similar. It's usually hosted by a software company, and there's free beer and pizzas, so it's very informal and interactive.
Yeah.
So that's good. Ravi, anything else that you'd like to share about the product management community in Singapore?
In Singapore, so this is how it is, and we are very happy with what we have achieved. And my only suggestion to your listeners would be, if whichever part of the world you are in, and if you do not have if you are into product management and you do not have a community or a product camp around you, I know it's a lot of work. It's challenging, it's demanding because you have your day job, but the amount of learning that happens when you interact with people, with the community, that is exceptional, because your career span is limited, and the number of domains that you would work, or the number of organizations that you would work in your career span is limited, right? So there is no way you can learn or you can dabble into all the domains. But when you go to these communities, when you meet people from diverse domains, diverse organizations, when you listen to their problems, the way they solve product problems, that is equivalent to working in all these companies. So I mean, your learning accelerates, your vision broadens, your understanding, your insights, and is expanded, right? So it has been a great learning experience, and I would encourage. I mean, the movement of product camps, or it need not be product camp by itself. The branding could be anything, but I would encourage people to go and spread the movement and learn and develop communities in your neighborhood if it's not present.
Yeah, and that's good advice. And as you said, Ravi, you weren't even necessarily a product person when you started. So very informal. Anybody can set one of these things up. So that's good advice. Okay, let's move on, Ravi. The next topic I wanted to discuss with you is kind of your product journey, right? So talk to us a little bit about the types of roles. Give us a bit of your background. So, some product people come from a technical background, some come from business. So give us a bit of your background, and then maybe talk about some of the lessons that you've learned so far. I understand you're earlier in your career than I am, but I'm sure there's lessons that you've learned. So give us a bit of background, and then talk about some of the lessons you've learned so far.
Yes, as you said, it's still early days, and Alan, in comparison to you, I'm just a newborn. So you come with vast years of experience, and I have great respect and admiration And my journey has been learning from people who have been into product just like you, and I learn a lot from you and your podcast too. So it was so it was a big privilege for you to ask me to be on your show. So let me see what I can add and what I have learned.
Sure.
So as you mentioned, right? People, there is no set career path. There is no set roles from where people land up to product management, right? People come from diverse roles. All right. I mean, and I think I am an example of one of them. I must be a really odd one out because I came from documentation. Yeah. So my formative years were into documentation. I was a doc writer. I worked in some really good companies like Siemens to start with, Sun Microsystems, and then Computer Associates. And after around 9 years of being into documentation, I realized that I need to pivot, and I need to be more strategic about what I want to do next. And in between, around 7 years ago, I had also dabbled into my own business. I had started setting up my own business. I failed miserably. I burnt a lot of money, but I learned a lot of lessons. And then better sense prevailed. I got married. I came back to corporate life. But then that bug to build my own business was always there, that I should come back. But till that time happens, if I'm in corporate life, I realize what is the best place to be to prepare myself for business in the future. All right. And then I realized, okay, I'm in a corporate setup. What is the role that I should aspire for to be in that place? And I realized product management is one such function which gives you that pedestal, that gives, it's a unique role where you interface with all the functions in an organization. Okay, so it gives you that vantage point from where you interact with sales, from marketing, PR, development, whatnot. Every aspect, every touch point for which a product needs to be successful or an organization needs to be successful, a PM needs to interact and develop a holistic sense for it. And then I realized, all right, and that is when I decided this is what I want to do. And the other part of it is usually if there is a small child into whom you want to plant the love for books, you want to be sure you present him the right first book, right? Because if the book is bad, you might kill his interest for reading. But if the book is really good, you might plant the love for reading, right? So the case was similar with me. The first product manager I worked for, he was fantastic, and that is how he rubbed off a lot of that product manager magic in me. And I would like to call him out. He's Micah Dickerson. He was my product manager, and he was my inspiration. So I said I wanted to be like him, and so there were a number of factors that led me to it. So what next? So once I decided that this is what I wanted to become, and I was working in Autodesk at that time, and in a large organization, it becomes difficult to get into product management because it is when the organizations are larger, it becomes difficult in comparison to startups where you can get into after a while. But for me, the struggle was different. So I had to break into it. I had to influence the senior management to let them know that this is not a whim or a fancy, but I am really serious about my decision. So I began doing a lot of informational interviews from senior product managers to understand what it takes to get into this role. And most of them suggested a few things. They said, all right, Ravi, do you have an MBA? I said, no. They said, oh, get your MBA. That will help you stand out. I said, all right. I did not waste time and enrolled in an evening MBA here. This is California State University, Sacramento. Even though it cost me a bomb, I went ahead with the due permission of my wife. It was again a difficult 2 years for me to finish that MBA along with the job, but I finished that. And then people said, then I said, what else could I do to make myself, to prove my expertise to my senior management? So I started blogging. And I blogged, and nobody came to my blogs because I was a newbie, and why would anybody take me seriously? So I said, all right, what's the next best thing to do? So I pivoted, I strategized. I said, I might not add value to the community through my blogs, but at least I can get experts to come to my podcast. So I started thinking about podcasts. I say, let me get experts on my podcast. At least they will generate value. And that has been a phenomenal decision for me. And ever since, there are people from more than 40 countries who listen to my podcast, and it has accelerated my learning because these people have published their own books. As you said, Steve Johnson himself was on my show, and it was quite magical because earlier I used to read their books, I used to follow them follow their blogs, and now I could interact them live one-on-one and learn from them. And most of these people, when I approach them, I'm sorry, I think you have a question on podcast. I'll talk about that later. So this is something that I began. And the third thing is I started doing a lot of stretch assignments within my organization. So as you know, a product manager is never short of work. He always needs help. And I offered all my extra time to my product manager, like meeting customers within Singapore. There was nobody who was meeting customers in Singapore because my product line was small. It did not have a dedicated sales and marketing team. So I said, all right, this looks like an opportunity. Let me start meeting customers here and provide valuable feedback to the team. And I was very, very ambitious with that. And I started putting time on my calendar on meeting customers. I used to go and visit customers in their offices, in their workplaces, and learn about. So mostly these are all contextual inquiries, and bring back all the insights and learnings and their pain points back to the team. So that was a great learning experience. So that that made my contribution visible to the senior management, and I started doing competitive analysis for products that were a threat to us. So I extended. So as I said, I did a lot of stretch assignments with added credibility. So after a year of putting all this work, I think there was no way the management could ignore my efforts. They realized that I wasn't just saying for the sake of saying, and I was serious about it. And eventually they had to give me the role, and and since last 2 years I've been doing this.
So you're in the product owner role. It sounds like you've got a very distributed team. So what are some of the key lessons that you've learned in that role?
Yes, so some challenges, and this challenges is very unique within an organization or a team. When the team knows that you are a new product manager, you are under a scanner, right? You are always tested. You are always there is a microscopic view on how you take decisions. And let me tell you, when I was thrown into this role without any official mentoring or stuff like that. All right. So it was like thrown into the deep end of the pool. And I did not know how to swim, and I made a lot of I made a lot of splashes. I was frantic. I was trying to keep myself up, and I did I think when I look back at it, I did a bad job. I did not know what to do. And my initial impressions with the team wasn't good, and all my hopes had crashed. And then the thing is, I again took a few steps back and realized what I need to do. And one of the books that helped me was Roman Pichler's Product Management. That is the way that book has been designed. It helps. It acts like it handholds a new product manager into the role. Okay. And at that time, I had spoken to Roman. We got ourselves into a call, and I was insisting him to do a podcast with me. And his book really helped me, and I took a step back. And then I also, to the team, I made them, I was very transparent. I told them that, yes, I am new to the team. Yes, I am learning. And all I needed was their help for me to integrate to the team. And what helps eventually is your sincerity on how much hard work you're putting in. All right. So within my team, we have had people who have worked for 18 years in the product. So they are like masters. Okay. I'm somebody who has just had a year of a product, the core product knowledge. And to win their respect, okay, was a challenge. And how do you do that? And that is what I learned the hard way. I did not make a good first impression. I was all over the place. But later, I pulled up my socks. I said, I am going to be the most hardworking person in the team. And then things change magically, because when the team knows that you are being sincere with what your role is, you're trying, or you're willing to put in all the hard work, and then there is no way a team will not respect you, and the team will not bring you under their wing. So that is how it happened. We started doing, and I became very flexible. So even if when we used to have customer calls at night 2 a.m., that was in the US, and for me in the mornings 2 a.m., I used to take calls at all ungodly hours. I never said no to anything. I put in. So I used to do all the dirty works for which no one else wanted to take it up and pick it up. I used to do that. I used to do product videos for the team. So just so that the team is not distracted and diverted from the core tasks. All right. So eventually, this all translated to winning their appreciation, and then things went really good. So this was one part of it. The other part of it is when you work in a globally distributed team, there are a lot of communication issues. Here, we're not just talking about people distributed in three different places, but they are culturally different. I am from India, living in Singapore. I interact with teams from China, in Shanghai in particular, and then there is a team from the US. Three different people, culturally very different, and most of the times we take calls, and to manage information is something that was a big challenge, because what you seemingly agree might be differently perceived. So even though you all get into a call and you think you all are in agreement, but when they all go back, they all have their own versions of the agreement, which might be drastically different. So as a result, my role became crucial here, because I had to create shared understanding, right? So even if we got into a call, I used to create reports. I used to take minutes of the meeting. I used to draft it so that everybody was on the same page, so that everybody knew what was eventually understood. Sometimes I understood it differently, but when you put it on paper on a wiki and send it to the team, and then other people challenge it, you know that there hasn't been a shared understanding. So I took that as a responsibility to build shared understanding across the team, because that was very, very important for the team to align together to a common goal. And this was one of my biggest, I think my accomplishment is I was able to create shared understanding. What else? So these were a few things. So let me see. Alan, you since you did not provide these questions beforehand, I'm struggling now.
No, it's okay. That's what I was looking for, Ravi, and I'm sure in your case the journey continues. So there's probably things that you're learning every day. But I like what you said there. That's really good advice, almost a recipe for somebody getting into product management, what you've described there. So let's leave it there. And let's go on to our last topic. And And maybe this will be the one that you enjoy talking about the most, because I know how passionate you are about your podcast. So let's talk about yours product, Lee. And I want to understand. You already talked a little bit about why you started it, but let's talk about how it's going and any highlights that you can share. With us. Talk about is it done weekly, or do you do it more ad hoc? Just give us an overview of the podcast, and of course the information on how to get to it as well, please.
Sure. Yes. This is the most passionate part of the three questions that you asked me.
Good.
Yes. So as I briefly mentioned to you, the story behind how it all started, right? It started from my blog, which wasn't successful.
Yeah.
To a podcast, which I thought, podcast is the flavor of the season. Almost everybody is doing podcast. Let me join the bandwagon there.
Yep.
And what a fascinating journey it has been. So my first podcast guest was Adrian Tan. And lots of people ask me, how do you get these people on your show? I mean, are you that popular? No, I'm not that popular. Nobody knows me. But so the way I began is first get people whom I know and who know me. That becomes easy. And Adrian Tan agreed to that. She was my first guest. She's from Brainmates, as I said. She was the one who helped us with the product camp.
Okay.
So Adrian came in. We did the first product. The first topic was getting into product management. And again, I wasn't a professional, so to say. It was first I was feeling jittery and nervous, but then it went smooth. She helped me out, and then it became all easy. Mm-hmm. So she would recommend speakers. So the way I go is so when I speak to somebody, I ask them to recommend a few speakers from their own network. All right. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes easy because they recommend you and you approach them. But it's no more. But today, if I approach people, there has not been a single case yet where people have turned down my request. Mm-hmm. So that is the best part about all these product leaders, that they're very humble. I mean, if you ask them, first of all, they all, most of them are flattered when you ask them to come to your show. So they feel good about it, and I make sure I make them look good on the show. I talk about all the accomplishments that they have achieved, and on top of that, what it helps me is it accelerates my learning. I mean, all these people, when I talk to them, the way it accelerates my learning is if I do a 1-hour podcast with somebody, on a topic, I better do all the research before that, right? Because I do not want to come across as somebody who is ill-prepared and cannot hold on to conversation for an hour. Most of my podcasts are 1-hour podcasts. Yep. And to be able to hold on to a conversation for a 1 hour, or to be able to win the respect of your guest, you better be prepared. And my preparation takes a lot of time. For 1 hour of podcast, my preparation could be 30 hours of research. So that is what drives me, because that accelerates my learning, because most of these people have written books. So I have to read the book cover to cover in order to do justice to the interview. I would have read at least a dozen books till now, and the good side of it is I get these books for free. So most of these people, they send me their books for free, and I just have to read them end to end and come up with a list of questions. Nice. The last one being, I mentioned to you about Christina Wodke, and Christina was somebody that I have been following up for a year now, because I wanted an expert on the OKRs, objectives and key results. I wanted an episode badly on OKRs. I myself was struggling to understand OKRs, and I wanted an authority to speak. And I have been writing to her. I've been following up with her for a year now. I never heard back from her. But a couple of weeks ago, she delighted me by sending her new book, Radical Focus, in my inbox. And she sent it to me, and she also apologized, saying that because she was busy writing the book, she could not make it to my podcast. And now that the book is ready, she is open for the podcast. And that is how I had her. So you asked me who have been. So let me share some of my favorite podcasts. So as you know, my podcast is titled yoursproductly.com. That's the website. You can also subscribe it on App Store. And some of my favorite ones. So recently, Samuel Hulick, he was my last guest. Samuel Hulick, as you all know, he's the guru, he's the authority on onboarding. All right. And I thought I really enjoyed talking to him. And he shared a lot of insights on user onboarding techniques. I do not want to pick and choose here because each of them have been really good. But the other aspect, since you asked me about what I learned on product management, is I thought my challenges would be technical. I thought my challenges would be on how to prioritize things, how to roadmap, or how to come up with user stories. I thought these were the challenges, and these were my bigger efforts. But as I dived into the role, I realized these were not my big challenges. My big challenges were soft skills. My bigger challenges were building influence in a team. And I demonstrated examples on how it was. So this came like a thunderbolt. This came like a bolt from the blue. A ton of bricks hit me on my head. that made me realize product management is not about products. Product management is not about processes and technical stuff like that. It's more to do, at least 75% of it is to deal with people, because eventually it's the team, it's the people who build products. And if you're not good with people, you will never succeed as a product manager. So this is something that I would always keep it in my mind. And that's the reason I did a podcast specifically on this topic with somebody called Gopal Shinoy. And again, this is a podcast episode, which is again one of my favorites, because we do not talk anything about product management. We talk mostly about how to build self-awareness, how to build organizational savvy, and how to build soft skills, how to build influence within the team. So that was one of my favorite episodes as well. What else? Let me. The other episode that I think Prabhakar Gopalan was my favorite guest. All right. So Prabhakar is again a veteran in product management, and he advised me to watch a documentary movie called Jiro Dreams of Sushi. All right. I'm sure, Alan, have you heard that story? Do you know about?
You have, but I have, but yeah, share it with our audience because it's an interesting one.
Oh yes. So he was the one who told me about Jiro Dreams of Sushi, and this is very, very important. And this is one of the finest movies, inspirational movies that I watched. So this is about he's a 3 Michelin star Japanese sushi restaurant in Japan, and this man's name is Jiro Ono, who is an 89-year-old sushi master. But I mean, he was 89 a couple of years ago. He must be beyond 90 now. So the documentary is about him. So this guy at 90, he wakes up early morning and goes to his restaurant every single day, all his life. All right. And he is regarded by the contemporaries and the peers as the greatest sushi craftsman alive in the world. Okay. Even President Obama was at his restaurant and he spent a lot of time there. So he's that famous. All right. And what is it? What makes him so famous? It's not because. So he goes into his restaurant every single day, and it's not just because he has to, but because his work defines his life. Okay. So he walks to his restaurant with a deliberate resolve to work harder and do better than the previous day. And that is even now in his 90s, when he has mastered the skill, he still goes there with the mindset to do a better job than yesterday. And even though he's already recognized as the best and that doesn't stop him, because from putting long hours towards raising the bar of his own craft. All right. And in his own words, he says that all I want to do is make better sushi tomorrow, and that is the spirit of the craftsmanship. And I was so moved by that movie. I started taking notes, and it's filled with nuggets of wisdom. And he says, once you decide on your profession, you must immerse yourself in your work. And that was profound. So, and that is what I said, all right, I'm still new in the product management field, but for the rest of my life, or till the time I'm doing product management, I'm going to immerse myself into this field. I'm going to fall in love with my work, and I'm going to dedicate my career to mastering this every day. There's not going to be a point of time where I say I have achieved it, but this is something that I really learned from this man and from this documentary. And this is what even Prabhakar on my show, he created awareness on how everybody should be a craftsman product manager and not just deliver products. Because if you're not falling in love with the process of with the craft of product management, you won't do justice to the products that you build.
Yeah, exactly. There's an expression we use in North America. You don't want to phone it in, right? You want to be authentically engaged.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
And other favorite one, of course, was Rich Mironov. Again, a great guy, humble guy. He agreed instantly when I asked him to be on my show. Yeah. He talks about one of the concepts, other than many important topics that he talked about, including his book. He talked about paying it forward. Okay, so whatever you learned in your journey, pay it forward. Send the lift down for the new product manager to climb up. Right. So that was again phenomenal and very insightful. And this is something that all of us must do. That as you grow up in your career, make sure that you give it back to the community. Make sure you help that new product manager out to climb up his ladder. And I think this mindset should be shared and help each other across the community.
Yeah, I had Rich on my podcast as well, Ravi, and definitely my interview with him is definitely my strongest episode ever. It continues month after month to get strong downloads. So yeah, he's an amazing guy.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah. Good. So what did you mention how frequently you do your podcast? Like I try to do this weekly. What's your frequency for your podcast?
Yeah, I also try to do it weekly, but then this is the publishing cadence is weekly, but I might interview 3 people in a week. Exactly. So I usually keep it as a backups, but I publish it weekly so that my audience is aware when they can expect it. The other part of my podcast is something that I would like to mention is the format of it. Since you mentioned that you usually take up 3 topics, I usually pick up one theme. Okay, that theme could be anything from, for example, since I'm exploring product management in mobile, I try to look out for experts on product management in mobile, and then so mobile product management could be a theme. So each episode is a theme. So that is first part of the episode. The second segment of my episode is what I call war stories or case studies, as they say, where I ask my guests to share the most difficult challenge they ever faced in their careers. Nice. So if they have, how did they resolve that challenge, or even if they could not resolve it, what are the lessons that they took away? So this is the second segment. I ask everybody to share it, and I have I have 2 last template questions that I ask everybody, and that is what are the key vital skills for a product manager to succeed. And the last one is what are the few books that they would recommend product managers to read. And that has been a good research for me, because over the last 40 speakers, I have accumulated all the books and vital skills. So I'm going to create an analytics to see which skills surface high. Yeah. And I'd like to share it with you. So 2 skills is what has surfaced high with 40 product leaders, and that are, first is empathy. Mm-hmm. Okay, this consistently comes across as the top skill to have. Mm-hmm. And the next is, of course, communication skills. So they are the so I mean, for the benefit of your audience, you would know what is most popular, right? So if you do not have empathy and you do not have communication, better work on it, because that is what the product leaders the world over are saying. Okay.
Yeah, they're not saying Scrum or.
Yeah. They're not. Yeah, the processes will come and go, but the fundamentals, it will never change, and the fundamentals is a deep empathy towards your customers and your maturity on how you come across to your people and your team. Your communication skills play a big role. So this was a big lesson for me as well. Mm-hmm. And to my and my last question is, what are the books? So there are 2 books that have topped the list. Okay, I have at least 120 books that I've listed. But there were two books that were consistently repeating themselves from that these people are recommending. Mm-hmm. One is Inspired by Marty Kagan.
Yeah, I've got that one. That's a good one.
Yes, and the other one is, what was that? Why is it skipping my mind? It's Ash Maurya's book, Running Lean. No, Lean. Sorry, say that again. Why am I getting confused here? Wait, we can edit this out later.
I like my show to have a very organic feel, Ravi. I probably won't edit it out. It makes it sound like humans as opposed to machines, right? So.
Yes, you're right. So it is Running Lean by Ash Maurya. Yeah. So these are the 2 books.
Nice. Well, that's great. Listen, I want to respect your time, Ravi. Like you, I have a final question that I always ask all of my guests, and I ask it in one of 2 ways. If it's somebody that's further along in their career, like myself, I ask them to look back on their career. But if it's somebody younger like yourself, I ask them to look forward. So the question is this. What are some of the things that you would like to accomplish in the world of product management over the next 10 to 15 years? Like, what are some milestones that if you project yourself to be an old guy with gray hair like me, and you're looking back over your career, what are some of the things that you'd like to look back on and say, yes, I'm really proud of that accomplishment?
So I mean, it's difficult to look into the future in 10, 15 years. I'm sure you should have a plan. Mm-hmm. But as I talked about Jiro, the sushi craftsman, mm-hmm. I would like to immerse myself into this craft for the next decade. Mm-hmm. All right. And I want to be known as a deep practitioner of the field. Mm-hmm. And the more time I have spent into it, I have only fallen in love with this craft. All right. Mm-hmm. And you can see it with my podcast and with my blogs and with my engagement and all that. It has only helped me be a better human being, because mm-hmm. the role is so challenging, so demanding, and so much is expected out of you that you cannot progress without improving yourself as a human being. Okay. I mean, how you come across to people, how you talk to people, how you keep a check on your egos, how to win the respect of the team. And this is not something that you can fake it. You will have to construct yourself. You will have to work on your character to succeed. I mean, look at Rich today, right? I mean, when you talk to that guy, you know that he's a transparent human being. You know that he has acquired so much knowledge, but you know that he's a fine human being. And this is something that this role helps you create if you are really serious to get better. Mm-hmm. And that is what I want to continue, because because the field will change, right? Today we are talking about mobile, we are talking about the technology is changing, there is Internet of Things. I mean, key technologies would change for the next 10 years, okay? And we would always play catch up to those technologies. But my point is to immerse myself into this craft, and how I can get better into this is what I would focus myself for 10 years. But again, I have my own plans for, like, I want to build a social enterprise after I learn and build an influence and make network and see the world. I want to build my own social enterprise, which will be my own product, on how I can give back to the community, how I can make an impact to the downtrodden or disadvantaged, and that would end my life in a satisfactory note, is what I would like to think.
Yeah, like Steve Jobs always used to say, make a dent in the universe.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, I think that's a great place to end our discussion, Ravi. So, let me thank you. But before we get to that, if there are people listening who wanted to follow up with you on something you said, is there any contact or social media type information that you're comfortable sharing with the audience in terms of how they can follow you, how they can connect with you, that type of thing?
All right. So I'm active on LinkedIn and Twitter. That's the best way you can reach out to me. You can subscribe to my website. That is the best way to stay in touch, because I send out weekly. I just don't post my podcast. I send out summaries, because not everybody has the patience to listen to the podcast. So what I do is I write down summaries of key lessons learned. So there are under show notes, and then I send out as an emailer to all my subscribers. So you can subscribe to my website, yoursproductly.com. You can add me on your LinkedIn. I'm also available on Twitter, same yoursproductly. And you can also write to me at the same email ID, yoursproductly@gmail.com.
That's perfect. So that way, all our listeners have to remember is yours productly.
Yeah, just Google about yours productly. You will find me.
Exactly. That's perfect. Well, listen, Ravi. Two levels of thanks on behalf of the product management community. Thanks for all of the effort and excellent work that you're doing with your podcast. And then for me and my listeners at Ready Product Radio, thanks for taking the time on a Sunday morning to chat with us. Really some valuable information, and I especially think the instructions and sharing your experience about how you got into product management, could be written down as a recipe for many people that want to get into the field. So thank you for your time, and thank you for your wisdom.
Thanks, Alan. I wish Product Radio all the success, and I'll do all that is possible to spread the word around. And let's contribute as much as possible to the product community. As I said, I'm still new. I hope what I said made little sense. I do not come with loads of experience, but I shared whatever little I learned. So thanks for this opportunity.
Well, there's experience, and then there's enthusiasm as well. So whatever you might lack in experience, I think you more than adequately make up for enthusiasm.
Thank you so much.
What I've noticed, Ravi, maybe we'll just finish on this, is that, as I said, as opposed to being very competitive, I found if we look at the other podcasters, like Chad McAllister, yourself, the folks that are doing product related podcasts are all very open,
right.
Supporting each other. So definitely wish you all of the success and with your podcast, and let's stay in touch.
Thanks so much, Alan.
Okay, thanks. Have a great day, Ravi.
You too. Bye-bye.
Today's podcast was brought to you by Eigenworks. Eigenworks specializes in win-loss analysis and customer development as a service. Get candid feedback to improve your sales approach, uncover competitive intelligence, and help you pivot as needed. Thank you for listening to this episode of Ready Product Radio, part of the Ready PDM network. This is when most podcasters ask you to leave a review on iTunes if you like the show. My only request is if you found the show entertaining, inspiring, or informative, please share it with a colleague or friend who may feel the same way. Also, note that the views expressed in this episode do not necessarily reflect my views or the views of the Ready PDM network. If you want yourself or your product to be ready, then keep your eyes on your markets, your ears to your customers, your mind on their experiences, both good and bad, and finally, keep your hearts on your products. Until next time, thank you for listening. You can contact us on Twitter at Ready Product Radio. That's RDYPRODUCTRADIO. And on the web at www.readyproductradio.com.
Gee, babe, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.